Hi all, this is Rachel and I am a 4th year law student from School of Excellence in Law, Chennai. I remember watching movies where police brutality and custodial violence was applauded. This shows how normalized the concepts of custodial violence has become in our society. India follows a three-tiered governmental system. We have the legislature, the executive and the judiciary. In order to implement the laws in a systematic and effective manner, the executive branch of the government utilizes law and order enforcement agencies. In India, the police system is the largest and the most popular law and order enforcement agency, and their primary function is to maintain and enforce law and order in accordance with the Constitution. The police are given the power only to prosecute and not to punish. In fact, Section 49 of the CRPC explicitly states that the police are authorized to use force only when a person restrains arrest. And moreover, the force used by them has to be justified. No person shall be deprived of his right to life or personal liberty except according to the procedure established by law is a fundamental right that is enshrined in Article 21 of the Constitution. The phrase procedure established by law used in Article 21 has been interpreted by a Supreme Court to be a procedure that is just, right, fair and reasonable. But today it has reduced to a procedure that the powerful are comfortable with. Last month, the case that shook the entire nation was the death of the father-son duo from Satankulam in Tamil Nadu who succumbed to injuries inflicted due to torture in police custody. One of the most salient features of a democratic country is the adherence to the concept of rule of law. But lately, there seems to be a gradual demise of rule of law in India. The Home Ministry of India submitted a report before the Rajya Sabha, wherein it was mentioned that between April 2017 and February 2018, around 1,674 people have been victims of custodial deaths. This roughly equates to 5 deaths per day. On the other hand, there are so many cases that go unreported because the persons die even before they are produced before the judicial magistrate. This poses a simple question before us. Why do we still suffer with such happenings? When we look at the reports, we can observe that most victims of custodial deaths and custodial violence are people from the marginalized sectors of the society. This makes it easier for the police to exploit them without having to worry about the consequences. The United Nations standards lay down that a country is expected to have at least 222 police personnel per 1 lakh persons. But in India, we have only 181 sanctioned police personnel per 1 lakh persons. This inadequate number increases the workload that is thrusted upon them, which in turn drives them to resort to violent methods of interrogation. Now let's talk about the solution. Right from the case of Nilabhati Bera versus State of Orissa, where the Supreme Court treated a simple letter from the victim's mother as a writ petition, to the case of D.K. Basu versus State of West Bengal, where the Supreme Court laid down 11 guidelines that ought to be followed by the police while making an arrest, it has time and again proved to be a pioneer when it comes to protection of fundamental rights of its subject. Moreover, in the year 2006, the Supreme Court directed every state in India to set up a police complaints authority so that the people will be able to file complaints against the police. But it is sad to know that as of now, only 6 states have established them. Certain legislative measures will also prove to be helpful. For example, India must implement the Prevention of Torture Bill 2010 and it must also ratify the United Nations Convention Against Torture 1984. This will send out a positive signal to both the domestic as well as international community that torture in any size, shape or form will be condemned in India. It is high time that certain reforms are introduced in the police system where they are educated about their job description as well as the protocols when it comes to arresting and interrogating a person. We all take so much pride in calling ourselves the biggest democratic nations, but ironically, we still face issues like custodial deaths and custodial violence every now and then. We must stop turning a blind eye to all these happenings around us and we must demand action as a society before we lose another Jairaj and Benix or Vikas Dubey. We must ask ourselves, why does it always take a Mathura or a Nirbhaya to implement the necessary penal amendments? I'd like to conclude by asking the same question that Justice Krishna Iyer asked us 40 years back. Who will police the police? Thank you.